When you're in a restaurant, what's tasty and what's visual are both important. It's creativity and it's thematic, and you're touching people's lives that come into your restaurant. You're creating an experience for them. But a pastry chef in a good restaurant and a good pastry chef can do many, many things for a restaurant.
Excuse me, Melissa. Can I talk to you for a second? So we have a little situation.
We had downstairs only a blast freezer, and I needed the temperature of my gelato to be, to scoop it to make my canals. So there was another freezer. I don't even know where's the freezer.
So I just told Melissa that unfortunately she stored some gelato in the upstairs freezer because she liked the temperature, and it was eaten by some guests.
And I'm like, yeah, I have a little bit more in the blast freezer. I won, and for some reason I opened the freezer and I didn't see it. So I closed the freezer and I'm like, oh my God.
So in actuality, we don't have a backup for this item. So we're trying to figure out what we can do to save her plate.
Yeah, that was terrible for a second, and especially because without the gelato, my dessert is nothing. So he's like, do you have more to make? I'm like, no, I mean, I needed all this, stabilizer and glucose powder and whatever. I said, no, and then for a second I stopped, I'm like, it's gotta be there. So I was like, oh, give me 1 second, I'll go and check again. And then, it was there. It was rock hard, but I worked it, and I had the time, thank God, to make it happen, but yeah.
It seems like I'm the only person who brought an assistant that I work with all the time, who knows me and knows how to anticipate what I do. So I think that's a definite advantage.
Well, last year the assistants were my staff. What I really was interested in, though, is the rapport that someone has with someone that works with or under them every day.
I don't know anybody that pushes my buttons as much as he does, but he always calls me out on the right things, and I like that.
We do have some good assistants for the other chefs, and we'll see. Does it even matter? I don't know.
No, I didn't bring anyone. No, it's a great help, of course. If someone, any help would be very greatly appreciated, yeah.
I originally wanted to bring my sous chef, who's worked with me for the past 3 years, but work was crazy, and then I wasn't really sure of what a real assistant could do and if it was worth it, so we decided last minute not to, and then today I realized, well, everyone else has an assistant, maybe I should look into that.
Have you talked to your assistant? You just met her today about kind of what you're going to do?
Yeah, she's great. We have a plan. She kind of knows where to go. She has a little bit more experience here than I do, so.
How's that maybe helpful?
I would hope so. She did it last year. Actually, she was the assistant to the winner. So I think that's my little dose of bad luck that I have to deal with.
You could still win and not have an assistant. We don't all rely on assistants in the same way.
I will die asking myself, is this the best you can do? And you're always gonna have that feeling of, I could have done better, I could have, changed maybe this. But overall, I was happy with the result. It was the plate that I wanted, so I was happy. Then for a minute, I have the doubt because it was a little small. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna just take advantage of the movement of the plate, and I kind of played a couple of things going outside of that small area, and I think it gave some movement to the dish. Even if a judge tries to be very objective about technique, execution, cleanliness, it's about what they like and what they don't like. There was not too many components, not too many ingredients. So overall, I think it was a good dessert.
This is beautiful. I can smell this, it's really fragrant. I'm getting a bit of a gritty texture from the ice cream.
It's kind of
I think
gritty.
it's yogurt powder.
Yeah.
And the whole grittiness is just ruining like texture of everything.
I think the visual aesthetic of this plate is very in line with what we saw from her pre-dessert. The balance of textures is pretty important. Everything is very clean, very tidy.
For me, the flavors seem kind of disjointed. This is another dessert she kind of started plating like 40 minutes in advance or something, right?
She came up very early on both of her plates and ended up using 40 minutes to an hour to plate each plate. It's hard to call 1 hour to plate an efficient use of time.
I love this profession because it's my hobby. It is not a job. It makes me whole. Not only Chicago, I wanted to represent pastry chefs out there, or even just a cook that puts his head down and pushes every day. I didn't want to create a dish solely because of technique. We've seen it, everybody knows it. I wanted to just focus on the flavors.
Now Chicago is starting to plate his signature dessert. Lots of components. He has the mise en place laid out very well. It'll be interesting to see how that composition comes together.
Telling a story about the signature dessert, I believe I did. You know, these are the flavors that I'm familiar with. I stand by it, you know, and I'm proud of it.
A lot of different things going on here.
I definitely attempted to exercise quite a bit of technique on the plate.
It was tasty. I mean, things were done well. The jellies were soft. They need to be soft. They're not too chewy. Or the toasted rice ice cream was nice. I like the idea that he took the spheres and just went with it and did 4 or 5 small, large, frozen custard.
Definitely a lot of different tastes and textures, and
It's definitely bitter and salty and sweet.
Really ambitious.
Very ambitious.
I was really happy with it. I don't think it could have gone much better than what I was expecting to do. Food is so subjective, honestly, and I think that everyone did a really good job. I didn't see anything that I was like, whoa. I wish I'd had a little more time to talk about the food. I wanted to engage with the judges and discuss the food with them, but you know, my description was pretty brief, and hopefully they got what I was trying to do. I feel like today I did the best I could have possibly done.
I like the texture of the semi-Fredo. It's pretty awesome.
What do you think about the complexity and the techniques he showed us?
A lot of different technique. The powder, you got semi-Fredo, sorbet, meringue.
the flavors are great. They're very intense. I would love to be eating some fresh fruit with that.
Would have been nice to like hide some fresh lime segments in it, or finger limes or something like that. I think the best components that I liked were the semi-Fredo and the powder, the hamka oil that he turned into a powder. The sorbet was nice too.
I thought the plating was beautiful. I liked the monochromatic white with the black splashes on it.
Plated dessert, for me, I feel like I killed it. I've been in other competitions in the past, and having a crowd of people looking at you and analyzing, and you know, your culmination of all this hard work for everybody. I was incredibly impressed with myself and incredibly proud of what I did, and I was extremely happy with it. To me, it was perfect. I've never been more proud of the products that I've made in an extreme kind of situation. It was very Bond-like, if I can say that.
I like the crunchy bits of candied violet. It's nice.
What about the degree of complexity or technique on the dish?
I think technique overall was solid. Like I don't think you can question any of it. The chocolate custard's great.
Yeah, the texture of that chocolate was really good.
It was nicely tempered.
Maybe a darker chocolate would be nicer. Push that flavor even further. So no real reason why there's black sesame and chocolate together.
They're two very strong flavors, very bold flavors sitting side by side. There's just nothing to sort of lace them together or weave them together. And that being said, the chocolate is delicious and the black sesame is delicious. This is definitely the kind of dessert that a chocolate lover loves.
The winner of the Chicago Restaurant Pastry Competition is